Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Jeff Perkins, the Chief Marketing Officer and Head of Product at ParkMobile. One of I would say, Jeff, that minus Amazon and PayPal, because I can buy everything online, this is my favorite app that has saved me a lot of money because I never have change in my car, and ParkMobile has changed the game. So welcome to the show. I appreciate you taking time to be on it today. I wanted to start and ask you, you're the chief marketing officer. It's something that it seems like, this idea seems so like simple. When I saw the first time and I put it on my app, I thought, yeah, this is one of those things. How did somebody not think of this and implement it, before ParkMobile? And then you kind of start seeing other companies pop up. But my first question is like, how do you, as an innovative company, how do you become like a first to market as you guys have been? And then how do you keep the lead?
Right. Yeah, it's the company started in 2008 and it came over here. Actually, one of the founders of the company in Europe brought the concept over here. And licensed the name from Europe. So there's actually a sister company over in Europe called ParkMobile as well in the Netherlands. But we're operate very separately. But when they started the business here, the way you used ParkMobile was you had to call a phone number to make a parking payment. So if you think about that, so instead of going to the meter, you actually had to play your phone, call somebody or call a automated line, and you would end up basically, having to go through a process through your phone.
Yeah.
You would pay for parking. And that was not that convenient. So usage took a while to get people just to do that. And then as mobile apps kind of came into the fold, a few years later, we launched a mobile app and that really got the business going. But what's interesting, and it kind of boggles my mind, in every city that we're in, the utilization of the app versus the meter is still more meter than app. Which kind of blows your mind that if you have an app option, why would you ever use the meter? But it goes to show you how behaviors take a very long time to change.
Yeah.
And you have to it's a grind and you have to work at it over a long period of time. And so that's really what our focus is showing people that we have a smarter way to park in our COVID world we live. It's a safer way to park too. So you're not touching some foreign object. We think it's the best way to pay for parking, and we want everyone to know about it and think that too.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Let's talk about that because as a chief marketing officer, you're all about messaging and getting people to increase their awareness and then work on changing their behaviors. And so I'm surprised to hear that. But in the same way, I'm not surprised. And so as a CMO, what do you do? How many times does it take for somebody to hear things or see things or experience things before they actually make a change?
Yeah, it takes a long time. And my favorite recording artist is Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, right? He's great. Yeah.
And I've been to 30 plus Springsteen concerts. And if you listen to what Springsteen says when he's interviewed, he always talks about the commitment over a sustained period of time. And that building an audience takes a lot of effort that is consistent and sustained. And I think that really resonates with me because, building a brand is hard and building awareness is hard. And it's something that, most companies aren't going to just plow $100 million into a big marketing campaign. And so, you have to slowly and gradually build that brand and build awareness and convince people and sell people that this is a better option than the status quo.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways we see in what I would call our more mature cities. So like we've been in Washington, D.C. for a very long time. That city, about 70% of the parking transactions actually go through the app versus the meter. So you see over time, it shifts in our favor. Yeah. It just takes a while. And we have another product that where you can make a parking reservation, so a prepaid parking reservation. So say you're going to a concert or a sporting event, or you're just going into town, you drive in, you don't know where you're going to park, you park in some garage, they gouge you on a $20 an hour fee. With the app now, you can actually make a parking reservation, and it's fast, it's easy. You know exactly the garage you're going to. If you're tailgating, you could filter the garages by garages that allow for tailgating.
Yeah.
And we think that's a really great solution for consumers. But again, most people aren't used to booking their parking before they go to the event. They get their ticket in hand, right? They get their ticket to the event. But when it comes to parking, they just drive down aimlessly and wait for some dude to wave them into their front yard and take $20 in cash from them. So that's another one. And that's a much smaller business for us right now. But again, similar to paying with the app versus the meter, we think over time, you're not going to leave your house to go into an urban area for a concert, or you're not going to leave your house to go down to do a business meeting without actually paying and reserving for your parking reservation ahead of time. And that's a really exciting business, but it's a behavior change. And so we're just constantly at it. We're reinforcing over time, this is a smarter way to park. This is the way you should be parking. And, we're in a business that is not top of mind. Like, John, you don't think about parking all day like I do. You think about parking right before you have to park. And that's the fun marketing challenge, is how to get people to think about parking, not before they have to park, but before actually they leave their house. And never leave your house without knowing where you're going to park.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, and I haven't traveled in a bit since COVID, but one of the most frustrating parts of going to the airport and traveling is getting a parking spot in the parking deck, and you're driving around and around and around, and you just can't get one. So I'm thinking to myself how convenient it would be to reserve my parking spot and know exactly. It would actually save me 20 minutes, because I would know exactly where I was going and that it was already prepaid. So yeah, that's that shift. So let's talk about that from a marketing perspective. I mean, how does I love marketing. I love everything about marketing. So when it comes to marketing, what is the recipe for creating an effective message?
Mm-hmm.
So your messaging and getting people to change behaviors, what's the formula behind that? Is it the number of words? Is it is it the tone? I mean, what is it? What's, from a marketing perspective, what is it?
Yeah, it's for this business. I've worked at a lot of different businesses, and every business requires different kinds of marketing strategies when it comes to messaging and where you deploy that message. But for us, it's very simple. It's about paying by app. It's about smarter parking. It's about convenience. It's about ease, right? And so those are the key points we want to always make to our users. We have an ad that we run, and we say, anywhere you want to park, any way you want to park, ParkMobile has you covered. So anywhere, we're available in every city across the country, and you can use the ParkMobile app anywhere. Anyway, hey, you want to park in a lot, you want to park in a garage, you want to park on street. We accommodate all those different kinds of parking. And so that's really the core message that we're always driving home. And our tagline is a smarter way to park, which is interesting, because when I joined the company 3+ years ago, the tagline at the time was "Parking Made Simple," which is I think a pretty good tagline. But the problem with that line was the word simple. Because if you think about simple, you think about Fisher Price, you think about very basic. And what we know is that consumers don't want simple solutions. They want smart solutions, right? They want solutions that maybe aren't the simplest, but ones that they get and that they could figure out. And then consumers always want to feel like they're making a smart decision in any kind of purchase. So we really talk about smart parking, smart mobility, the range of ways you could park with ParkMobile. But really the interesting thing for our business is as much as the messaging is important, it's also about the places where we deliver the messaging. And so the most effective advertising medium that we have for this business is actually right at the point of sale. So we have stickers and signs around all of the meters in 400+ cities around the country, and they're really bright green. So if you're in a city with ParkMobile, you'll see those green stickers everywhere you go. That's the number one way people learn about ParkMobile. It's the number one point where people are downloading the app and setting it up and learning to pay for parking. So The signage, I always like to say we don't have to spend millions of dollars in big advertising campaigns because we have millions of billboards all around the country on all of these meters. And so that's really, I think, the secret sauce for us is that we have these really high impact points right at the place where people are making the parking transaction. And that's what really drives our business when we go into a city, putting up that high impact signage, and you just see the user acquisition right after that and the transaction flow come in.
Yeah, I love that. How were you guys able, and with a company that relies on people driving and parking, how were you able to, or how did you pivot and adapt once COVID hit and people were not driving as much? They weren't going into places. They were doing curbside. How does a company like ParkMobile adapt?
Well, COVID has been very interesting for us in a lot of ways. We saw right away when cities and states started to shut down, our business went down about 95%. Now we are owned by BMW and Daimler, so we have owners with a lot of resources. So we knew that if we made smart decisions with our cash, we could weather the storm for several months. And we've done that successfully. We haven't had layoffs or furloughs or anything. We've actually, despite our business being down so much, we've effectively weathered the storm. And then about June time, it started to come back. And right now we're not back to pre-COVID levels, but we're back at a point where the business is really humming. We're generating a lot of revenue for our bottom line. But during COVID, we had to make a lot of decisions around what to do, what not to do. Because if people aren't going out and parking, really, there's no need to market to them. You're not going to acquire a lot of users. So we did something kind of clever. We turned the app actually into a fundraising tool. So people could easily give money, and we partnered with a ton of local charities in the cities where we operate.
Yeah.
So if you're in Atlanta, which is our home base, we worked with a group called the Giving Kitchen that was supporting hospitality workers that were out of work due to COVID impacts, right? And so right in the ParkMobile app, you can go in and make a $5 to $50 donation really easily. And we raised tens of thousands of dollars for all of these charities, and we matched a portion of it. So it was an interesting way that we kept our app relevant to people at a time when they're not going out and they're not parking at all. And so that was really something that we're very proud of, that we were able to help our communities and make a difference at the same time, keep our brand sort of top of mind. The other part of it is, and the interesting part, a lot of cities around the country don't even have a mobile app right now. And so what happened with COVID is that all of the city leaders suddenly realized we have to get a mobile app because we want to have more contactless options in the city. We don't want people going out to meters and putting cash in the meters, and we have to have, attendants on the street taking that cash and all the worries about spread of germs and spread of COVID. And so all city leaders now said, hey, we need a contactless option right away. And so while our volume of transactions has been down and our business overall has been down this year, the acquisition of new cities has been way up. We've had our best year ever from an acquisition and an implementation point of view, rolling out in all of these new markets. So when COVID is behind us and things do kind of come back to some level of normalcy, our business is just going to be positioned to do very well because we've acquired so many new customers. So that's another way I think we've turned what is a tough situation into a time when we could do a lot of things for our business that'll set us up for future growth.
I love that. Let's talk about future growth for a second, because studies are showing autonomous cars. That's got to be something that you guys are looking at in the next 5-10 years and saying, okay, what does that mean if cars are driving themselves and then this car's driving around before picks me up for my errand? So how do you forecast that, which I think is a big piece of every business? And this one is just. It seems so like Jetsons to even talk about it, right? Driverless cars and not being able to drive. But how are you guys adapting and forecasting and pivoting for that future?
Yeah, we've always, that's something we've been looking at very closely for a long time. And actually, we have in-car integrations already built out with BMW. So in any new model BMW, we're actually in the center display unit, and you could transact a parking transaction right from the car, right?
Really?
So that's what you can already do that today. So where does that take you in the future? This ability to be inside the car and do transactions. Well, if you think about it, an autonomous vehicle will not be allowed to just circle the block. Cities are not going to let them do that. And so they're going to have to be at rest someplace. So what we see is a future where you're going to have autonomous cars having to go to garage facilities to get parked, to get serviced, and then to get back on the road. And because we're a transaction-based business and we're already built into the car, we are very well positioned to help the autonomous vehicle actually process all those transactions and vend a gate at the garage, which we already have technology to do without pulling a ticket. And so we're really excited about autonomous vehicles. We think it opens up lots of new opportunities for us, not to just enable autonomous cars to pay for parking, but also to procure services, charging, cleaning, any other services before they get back on the road.
I love that. I wish I can hear from the way you describe it, how great all those brainstorming meetings must have been. get to how you're articulating it right now. And just kind of on that note, how important, I love an idea and how an idea can turn into something that you didn't even think was the initial, idea. And so when, as a marketing, chief marketing officer, talk about a little bit about the importance of brainstorming and ideas and really how to sprout ideas.
Yeah, I'm a career marketer, so I came out of the advertising business and then went from big ad agencies to the client side in big marketing departments.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've spent most of my career on a whiteboard, most of my career putting Post-its on the wall.
Yeah, those are great. Yeah.
And so it's just kind of it's just the way I work. I think every meeting kind of is a brainstorm in some way. The thing I love about what great marketing teams do is you bring in a group of people from many of us have different backgrounds, different experiences, and you kind of get laser focused on solving a problem. And the brainstorm process and the ideation process is so fun to me because that's what it's all about. And when you work on a business like ParkMobile, it's you can take that anywhere. And so the autonomous cars example is one. We're looking at a lot of other options in our business too, like the reservation side of the business. We're always asking what ifs, right? And that really is the fun part of our job. How can we expand the business? We have over 20 million users of the app. We have over 2 million that are active on a monthly basis right now. That's a very big audience. What else does that audience need? How can we help them with mobility? We have some really exciting partnerships actually that are getting announced in the coming weeks with some very big tech companies where we're bringing together different mobility solutions and different payment options.
Yeah.
And it's really, really exciting. And it is almost just this wide open field. The challenge actually, when you're a big brainstormer and you're really focused on innovation is how do you then focus that into what you actually do? That's probably always the biggest challenge, because it's great to have all of these ideas and all of these Post-it notes on the wall, but then how do you figure out what to do and where to allocate your resources? That's really, I think the more I've kind of climbed in my career, I've realized it's less about how many ideas I generate, but more about how I'm able to then focus on the right ideas and then execute those and bring them to market.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, right? Is so many people get frozen in just the ideas, they don't execute, and then there's executing because, I see as a business coach, sometimes people are afraid to fail, but sometimes, in today's world, you got to beta test. There's so many different places to actually beta test where it's not failing. It's just kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work and being able to pivot in real time. So I love what you're talking about, but the key is an execution. What's the biggest marketing mistake you see people make in general? right? Just, something that I think sometimes, where they just they're off just even a little bit. What are some of those things?
I would say the biggest mistake I see a lot of marketers make are actually less about what program they're running, but more about how they're approaching their job. I've been in many marketing organizations. I've seen marketers succeed. I've seen them fail. And where I've seen marketers fail, and I mean, the average tenure of a marketer is somewhere between a year and 2 years, right? Not a marketer, a CMO, actually. So CMOs generally have a high rate of failure in a lot of companies. And I think the reason is that a lot of marketers, especially marketers at bigger companies, focus on doing the right thing based on a specific playbook. And oftentimes those things are very hard and take a lot of time and aren't going to show results for 12, 24, 48 months. And that is where you create a lot of risk for yourself as a leader. So if you walk into an organization and you're not going to show results on your program for 24 months, my bet is you will be out of a job in 18 months.
Yeah.
Right. And the sad thing is you could have done all the right things and set up your predecessor, your predecessor for success. But it's not going to help you. And so what I always focus on when I go into a new position in a company is what I call a quick win strategy. I look at everything that we can do and I say, all right, here are the big things. We need a new marketing automation system, or we need to redo our CRM, or we need to go and recreate our entire demand gen program. There's so many things you can do and that are big and take a lot of time. And here's some other things you can do that generally are low hanging fruit. Like, well, we don't have any good collateral for the sales guys, and the homepage of our website, the copy's bad.
Right.
Things that are actually very doable in a short period of time. And the idea is not that you don't take on those big things, but the idea is you do the small things first. Yeah. And why do you do that? To put some runs on the board and to build goodwill with your peers and your executive team. So they see, wow, Jeff's really crushing it. He's cranking out a lot of work. And that buys you time to do the bigger things.
Yeah.
I think that's from a marketing perspective, that's always my best advice is go into a job with a quick win strategy, build that goodwill within the organization and the trust that you'll need if you're going to take on these bigger initiatives that are going to cost time and money and not show results for some time.
I love it. All right. So a couple quick speed round questions, Jeff. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Favorite book and why?
My favorite book, business book, is a book called It's Your Ship by Michael Abramoff, I think is how you pronounce it. He was a naval commander. And it's the story of a Navy officer who took over the worst performing ship in the Navy and turned it into the best performing ship. And he did that by enabling his team, all the officers on the ship, to come up with ideas on how to fix the problems in the ship. Mm-hmm. And he listened to them. So it's been, for me, when I look at my team, I want at all levels of my team, people who will come to the table with ideas on how to make the company better, how to make the marketing team better, regardless of what their title is, regardless of their role, whether they're junior or senior. And he has this term, he calls it grassroots leadership. And it's all about how the junior people in the organization have the best insights into what's wrong, but they also have to take the initiative to fix it. And they can only do that if they know that their superiors kind of have their back. And he did something very revolutionary in a hierarchical kind of organization that you have in the military. He enabled the junior people to make the change that they knew needed to happen to make the ship better. And as a result, the ship became, the top performing ship in the Navy. So that's a great book on business. And it's probably one of the ones I always, whenever I started a new company or I'm working with a team, I always give them that book because my expectation as a leader is that I'm not solving every problem that we have. And I don't want to. I want the people on the team to be the problem solvers and to overwhelm me with so many solutions that I don't even know what to do first.
Great. That's great. Good. I haven't read that book. I haven't even heard of that book, but I'm gonna get it and listen to it. Sounds great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
A guy I used to work for, one day when we were in a meeting and I was showing him a marketing plan with so many ideas. He said to me, Jeff, I know you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And that was really stayed with me. And we talked before about focus, but as a leader, I'm very attuned to how we're focusing the resources of the company and to make sure we're not taking on too many things, spreading our resources too thin. We're doing the things that are going to make the biggest impact to the business. And so, and that means a lot of the science experiments and the pet projects and even things that actually have real value to the organization, they will get deprioritized. So we'll make sure we're focusing on the things that are making the highest impact.
I love it. I love it. Jeff, this has been great. Tell people how they can get a hold of you and any contact information you want to share.
Yeah, well, go check out our website at parkmobile.io, of course, and download the ParkMobile app. If you want to reach me, I'm very active on LinkedIn. On Twitter, it's Jeff Perkins 8 at Jeff Perkins 8. So definitely keep in touch. And I should say, I have a book coming out in I think sometime in 2021. It's called How Not to Suck at Marketing. And so if you want to go check that out, that's hownottosuckatmarketing.com is the URL for that. So go and get on the list for that, and we'll send you an email when the book releases.
All right, good. Jeff, let me know when it comes out, and we'll have you on the show again to talk about everything that's in the book. I love interviewing authors and going into detail about their book. So that's exciting. Congratulations on that. Thanks for everything you shared today. Again, thanks for creating an app where I don't have to keep change or look for change or spend 5 minutes looking for change when I get somewhere. You guys have saved me hundreds of dollars in tickets and my entire family. We all have the app and use it. We love it. And thanks for everything you shared today as far as how to think about marketing and messaging and innovation and forecasting and projecting. All great stuff. So thank you. Think community. Appreciate you listening.